Welcome to the haunting place. Let us sit a while at the author's desk to discover some of the secrets of creating narrative that haunts. Whether you are authoring a book, scripting a video, or writing a blog post, here you'll discover how to reach deeply into the hearts and minds of your audience, how to creep them out, and how to leave them emotionally haunted. Tonight we turn our attention to the music of you and your audience. The human body is an orchestra, each instrument serenading us with the symphony of all we are in this moment. Your lungs exhaling an elegiac sigh to all you have ever been. Your heart pounding a defiant cacophony of battles to come. For the music your body performs at any given time relies on the experiences of the moment, within the complexities of every breath and beat of heart, each sensation, feeling and emotion, a requiem or a rhapsody, unfolds into the world of your human experience. Yet this music of life is not simply a physiological soundtrack to accompany your time on this earth. It plays an integral part in the choices you make and behavioural patterns you entrain to from moment to moment. The music informs the dance. The orchestra is not only guided by a person's neurology and brain, or the conductor in this particular analogy, but also informs the same neurology and brain of what to perform next and how. The jarring sensation that causes an autonomic, sharp intake of breath informs the conductor's baton to hammer out an increase in heart rate. The rhythm that sets the tempo of all other instruments. That one inhalation and the effects it triggers cascade across every aspect of the body, affecting everything from mood to thought to action. And the resulting action may be a minuscule yet all-encompassing difference between life or death. Breath, heartbeat, sensation, feeling, emotion, synesthesia. These are all the physiological processes that inform us and guide us throughout our lives. And as a piece of music can be scored and communicated from composer to orchestra, your book can contain the concerto your reader's orchestra plays to the world. Your opera, the song they sing, the threnody that inspires change for a better world. For every word is a note, every sentence a bar. The paragraphs form the lyrics of chorus and verse alike, whilst punctuation creates tempo and narrative that gives indication of how to play each instrument. Your story is not the information you want to give, but the music it creates and the dance your audience dances once they've heard it. When creating narrative that plays the symphony of breath and heartbeat, you first seek to engage your audience through the music of breath. This can be the way in which they are breathing, the availability of breath, or the inadequacy of breath. For example, when reading narrative you have created aloud to yourself, what happens to your breath? Do you find yourself taking lots of shallow, quick breaths? Or do the words force you to take deeper, longer lasting breaths? Do you gasp for breath at any point? Or does your breathing become relaxed and calm? Think about how vowel words like breathing and exhale often force us to breathe out, whilst consonant heavy words like restriction and contraction can be said without much breath invested at all, for it's all in the tongue. How words themselves change breathing can be a great method of scoring the music of your narrative. However, there is also a direct link between the breathing words inspire and the engagement. When the breath runs out, so does the audience's attention span. And the bigger the breath you need to complete a sentence, the greater the reader or comprehension age of your audience. Remember to keep these in mind when creating long sentences. Moving beyond the pronunciation of words, how do they directly affect breathing in the act of reading? Think about narrative which talks about breathing or lack thereof. This is one of the most powerful ways to affect breath, and it can be so visceral as to overwhelm, especially when breath restriction is described. So use it respectfully. How can certain narrative passages expand our sense of freedom, opening our chests and lungs, whilst others make it downright difficult to breathe, pervading our bodies with tight, restrictive claustrophobia, a crushing, vice-like pressure that slowly squeezes the very air from our lungs? Situations in tight, crushing spaces, such as a narrow cave or coffin, can cause the chest to tighten, immediately affecting heart rate and grabbing your reader's attention. You can also describe wide open expanses of water to the same effect. The deep ocean, for instance. Mountains are great lung openers, and for some people with a very specific physiological makeup, can be a deeply restorative experience. Now, this may sound a little random, a little Jedi mind trick, but if you or those you are communicating with show signs of lightening or opening up when mountains are described, you can instantly create a transformative experience for yourself or them by including in the description one particular yet simple thing. Add the colour yellow and snap, you'll create a profound physiological shift. And once you have changed the breathing of the audience, you will have already influenced their heartbeat, either slowing or quickening their heart rate depending on the descriptive style of your breath narrative. You can, of course, create even deeper acting and longer lasting results by focusing in parallel on the heartbeat directly. If we think about meeting each other in the intimate space, that sacred environment where we tuck the profane world up to sleep and become a singular voice, we need a place for that to happen, a place created of narrative. This is not an explicitly described place, but a space constructed of, amongst other factors, the physiological changes of the participants. We can view that space as having real-world parameters such as a floor, ceiling and walls. No door, though. We'll explore that in another story. This is a liminal space, an interim layer of mind and emotion where we meet and connect. In this concept of the sacred space, breath is the foundation or floor beneath us, underpinning and supporting our experiences. Heartbeat is the ceiling above, the overarching aspect of our experience. Heartbeat creates cycles, the unfolding or rhythm of our narrative space. By first creating the floor and ceiling of your narrative space, the other elements of this space will flow in a smooth and cohesive way as you turn your attention to them. Just as we've seen how words can directly affect breath, the same is true with heartbeat. So monosyllabic words or words with a high syllable count can create a dramatic hammering rhythm, whereas drawn out, low syllable words slow the narrative pace and thus the heart rate. However, here the narrative itself can be most effective. particularly narrative that taps into three intimacy areas: threat or death, arousal or sensuality, and connection, love, which could be family, friends, a partner, the audience member themselves. In many ways, threat and arousal are the easiest to provoke a physiological response. However, whilst more challenging an endeavour, connection can be a great identifier in your audience. So if you want to create an intimate space for a compassionate person, someone who is kind and caring, a person who considers others, a family-orientated person, animal lovers and so on, engaging through loved-themed narrative is a great way to go. People who aren't engaged by the experience of love or being loved will not respond to your narrative, so disassociate from your audience. Be aware, the easiest form of love engagement is self-love. You're beautiful, you're special, you can be anything you want to be. Whilst these affirmations may seem corny at a cursory glance, they are quick-win engagement. Hence, so many advertisers use this trope so frequently. It works. It just doesn't last without constant reinforcement. As you identify your audience at a greater degree of depth, as we shall on this journey together, you will hone your authoring to master heartbeat in an increasingly effective and lasting way. But for now and always, remember, every moment you embody in this life, make it a haunting place.